So
I
a
mean,
fan
did he
possibly...
paraphrase? Did he
Sorry, go ahead.
paraphrase Batman? Like, is he like? Did Triple H go? I tell you what, bloody love Batman Begins, but rather than use the analogy about bats and stuff, because no one has like bats aren't a thing in wrestling. How about we just talk? Yes, like why do we fall to get back up?
That's a little inspirational message, though, isn't it?
It makes you think. Although Michael Caine, what a guy! Shout out Val Kilmer, R.I.P.
Anyway,
Was Val Kilmer your Batman?
always.
Yeah.
Definitely always. But of course, Ian, we're talking about not that. We're talking about wrestling, man. Are you excited?
Oh, we're talking about wrestling. Oh yeah, a little bit of wrestling's exciting, but I will tangent, and I will do bits.
Okay, so we're going to roll the intro. Let's have some fun. Here we go. So, how's your week been, my man?
I mean, I feel that I probably should have been like introducing myself and like saying my name and moniker and stuff like that in the time between the cold the cold open and the intro. It's like Saturday Night Live never did that, you know. But hey, my name Jeff, you know, that's how it is. This week's been sound. How's your week been?
It's been absolutely... I've been looking forward to this one all week because obviously I'm a massive fan of your work and stuff like that, man. Do you know what I mean? Incredible in the ring. And your promo work, which a lot of people obviously comment on.
Yeah. I feel that most people see the promo stuff more than they see the actual wrestling side of things. But hey, that's like it's the way the turntables, you know, like I was very much once considered just like a wrestler type guy. And then I think it was like with Sov Pro, that's where kind of like character kind of, you know, I was able to like stretch my legs a little bit, stretch my find my wings, if you you know, from the album Cherry Bomb. I think that's where that came from. Well, it's not where that came. I feel like there was things going around. There was ideas floating.
Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning, man. I mean, Ian, how does your obviously career begin?
My career.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was just in. So I started. Here's actually unique scoop. I don't think I've mentioned it before. But I was on a podcast with a guy. I used to do a podcast. And he was mad into wrestling. I was a lapsed fan at that time. He was really into it, and he's the one who kind of like said, "Oh, you should go to like this school. They're local to this area." So when I moved down to Edinburgh for university, I decided, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to give it a crack." I messed about for a couple years, like doing a bunch of other things. But then in 2017, that's where I kind of like, you know, committed every week. And the rest, I guess, is kind of history, ancient history. They wrote in the tomes. It feels that like so much time has passed since the COVID pandemic, but like everything pre that feels like ancient history at this point.
Absolutely. So according to obviously Cage Match, a certain Joe Hendry trained you. What was that like?
Oh yeah, so yeah, it was around like 2020 is when I those numbers. 2020 is when I started training with Joe. Incredible stuff. Like I pretty much got to see firsthand the inside and out of the evolution and the elevation of Joe Hendry. Because there's little things that are just like that have always been there, but it's not about like it's not been marketed that way. Like his song, and was like, "Oh, I love the song, the clap." Like that's like, yeah, he's had that song for like pre-pandemic. It's only that he kind of like capitalized on the entrance, like that it all kicked off. I liked his parody entrances. I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't get a parody entrance when he wrestled me. However, I was able to flip the script on him, which was also very fun because I got to hear about how he flipped the script on people beforehand. So I kind of like, I had the blueprint within myself to be like, I'm going to pull the wool over your eyes and I'm going to make you look a mug. And yep, I mean, I got him. I got him.
And what's that like being in the ring with somebody who obviously trained you?
It was, I don't know. I don't like, because I feel that like even then we did business just as per, like there wasn't much kind of like how do you say, and I knew most of his stuff, but I think he was still TNA at that point, so it was a case in which like he's been wrestling all these other different people and he's just trying kind of like their style, like you bring to the table, and then we'll like collaborate a little bit. So it didn't feel like I was wrestling a trainer. I felt like it was like wrestling, like an import. But it was great. Got to speak with him beforehand. I was part of a food fight. I also helped like coach at his school, and it was like right after we'd done like, cause I like helped at his school, and then I moved away to where I am now. In what year is it? It's 2024. That's when I moved. So, and that's when that match happened. So it was like after I'd moved. So it was almost like there was like it was a gap of separation. But yeah, it was good, man. It's just Joe Hendry, and I'm just like loving to see him succeed. Being at the Rumble, being a TNA champion, just like I was there. I remember having a chat with Joe Hendry at Discovery Wrestling show that I was just like helping out at like building the ring and all that jazz. I remember chatting with him, and it was pre-Ring of Honor, and I was just chatting with him like what's your next step? And he kind of like Joe kind of guy. He's the kind of guy to sit backstage, look out the curtain, and call a shot. And he's like, I'm going to call my shot. And he's sitting there, and you're like, he's really calling it. He's calling a shot. He's calling a shot. And he goes out there, and he he does it. He takes the shot, and you're like, he called that. Yeah, it's just like his business acumen is incredible.
Absolutely, it's incredible and stuff like that. So I'm looking for obviously some of the promotions you're bringing in. ICW, how did that all begin?
It was a training seminar. So I was actually doing a sketch show at the Fringe, during the time that like it was like we did a tryout at the school and I was at the time. Mark Dallas, the promoter of ICW at the time, he came down to kind of look at people, and they were making this new show at the time called ICW Gonzo. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know, like, flipping the question back onto you, kind of like, where's your knowledge with ICW lie? Because I feel like there's a lot of things I may say that I'm just kind of like taking for granted because it's knowledge that I knew at the time. But like, where's your bearing in ICW? Like, are you kind of like an old school ICW guy, or like, when did you jump into ICW?
I jumped in just before a lot of the big talent got signed to WWE.
So all right,
Caleb and stuff like that.
Like 2018, maybe?
Yep.
Like 2018, 2019, right? So it'd be around about that time then, because I feel that it would have been like 2019 ICW Gonzo, or like maybe 2018. I wish, I wish I had it at the top of my head. But yeah, did a tryout kind of like area. I feel like I did my thing, but I guess it's just my thing got me noticed. I was in a 6-man tag match. And then it was like the next show after, which was France 2000, is a show that I got to do like my singles debut in the garage for ICW. And then the pandemic happened. Incredible. But I was able to be chosen for like appearing on the WWE network for ICW, doing like closed door tapings, just being able to like keep the reps going. Real tough time working with no audience, but I was also very fortunate to be one of the first matches that audience saw. And I say one of the first matches, the first match that the audience saw back from pandemic. So awesome stuff. It was a very different direction. It's a very different thing from the Ian Skinner that you see today, but like it was like a great platform. I got to do some really interesting things and actually expand my character work. Again, used to be a wrestle guy, but that's where you got the aspects of the British Psycho. Shout out to Billy Kirkwood for like coining that moniker as well. But yeah, trying a different couple things there. The no socks thing. It's just because I wear invisible socks, but people liked the no socks thing. That was cool.
The other promotion, which obviously I know a lot of your work from, is wrestling in Newcastle. Now, you've done obviously a lot in there. Now, the best feud I actually remember is obviously you and Henry Faust. Talk about this feud as a whole.
As a whole, I mean, there's not. I feel that Here's the thing. I know so much about it myself from being inside it. I would actually love to hear what your insight on the feud is. Because again, like I've seen like you did the reviews of it. You did like was it like the Great North Rumble or was it the Settle the Score that you did a review with Stevie? I'd like to hear your perspective on it because it's more interesting for me to hear that like from the seats watching the action. Right, because the inside is it's boring. It's work. What was your perception of it?
Right, so Settle the Score, I was actually there, front row, stuff like that. And first time I've ever been at Newcastle. I'm familiar with work, obviously, at Soft Pro, but this is obviously my first time seeing you in person and stuff like that. And I remember watching that match. My sister obviously was with us as well. And it was just one of my absolute... I remember walking away going, wow. And I even said to Stevie as well, I said, that Ian Skin and Henry Faust match was absolutely incredible. Do you know what I mean? I still watch it back now, do you know, as a fan.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel that he's one of the talents that I've been wanting to like work with. Like cutting all the kind of like the bravado, the nonsense there, but like he's just got a very he is the type of wrestler who likes the same wrestling that I do. And I'm maybe not the type of wrestler that or at least I feel like the perception of me isn't the type of wrestler that I want to be or that I like. So being able to work with people who like the wrestling that I like or have the same style that I like, it's golden because I feel that I can fill in the gap that it's not that they're missing, but I know my role and I know their role as well. So that when it comes to collaboration, I'm very much able to go, yeah, let's roll with this kind of like, this pace and this idea, this thing, that. But yeah, I like Faust, Ginger Vampire, where I hope he walks into the sun and burns. Whenever I see him now, I've got a crucifix and I've got a little spritz of holy water. It's like when a cat's naughty, it's like, yeah, take that, unholy god spawn.
Dear. But the good thing is, from that feud, you've also got a good little companion now called Vusyk, who's been on this show as well.
Big Vizzle, yeah, my man. He loves two things, Corona and family.
I don't even know what to go with that.
Oh, come on. It's a bit yes and or no but. Yeah. Vusyk sick. I remember as well, little fun thing, if we're like peeling the curtain back. I remember I think it was one of the first like Evo shows, like back from pandemic, you're probably looking at 2021 and such. I remember seeing Vusyk in like probably one of his like first debut matches on these Evo shows and just being like, I like this guy's look. And from like the photos that I saw, because it wasn't even photo like clips, it was photos. I liked his style. Like I asked Nathan, who's this guy? And so I didn't have any pull, so it's not as if I could like get him booked anywhere. But I'm just like, at some point I want to wrestle this guy because he seems sick.
Yeah, he's
and,
really,
and
really
now he's an absolute
like
now he's just an absolute weapon. He's an absolute unit. What a guy!
Absolutely. And the other promotion, which obviously you are the Open Champion, by the way, which is Tidal.
Hell yeah! Do you know the story around the Open Championship? And how
I know it briefly. I know it briefly.
What do you know? I'll fill in the gaps.
Well, the clue's in the name. It's an open title. Do you know what I mean? Anybody can obviously challenge you. That's all the only bit I obviously know.
Ah, right. So yeah, so like Tom Thelwell was the champion pre-pandemic, and I believe since the pandemic, Thelwell hadn't been back. So he comes back and he's like parading with the belt, thinking he's the big dog, even though like it's a redundant belt. Like since Tidal had come back, the open belt wasn't like on the rock. So we had a couple matches. I think he got DQ. So I can't remember what the nonsense is. I've been punched in the head way too many times. But there was a point where I'd beaten him up in this like no DQ match, and I won. I won the match, and he gives me the belt, and I'm like, I tell you what I want to do. I want to Jerry Lynn cradle pile driver this belt on the mat, take a photo of it, put it in black and white, and then be like, RIP, Tidal openweight belt. But I'm like, there's no way that I've not been like dropped on lollipops. I've not been like, smacked in the face with kendo sticks just to win. So I was like, well, here's the thing. is the juggle. Do you want me to power drive the belt, or am I the champion now? Is that it? The fans wanted me to be champ, so it's kind of like an organic thing, I guess. I never really sought out to fight for the championship, but here I am now, a fighting champion.
Absolutely. So one thing I also want to talk about now is obviously building the Ian Skinner character. It's really, really unique. Talk about obviously building it as a whole.
Again, as a whole, it's just a wide burst thing, but I feel that the interesting part about the character versus kind of everything else wrestling related is, and I feel like part of it is kind of the old saying that your characters usually you turned up to 11. My take up, I was I've mentioned it. I was doing an Edinburgh Fringe show. I've done stand-up comedy. I've done sketch comedy. I love comedy. Comedy is my bread and butter on top of internet culture and all that jazz. So I feel that a lot of my stuff is deriving from these comedy backgrounds. What can I take from here? Little things like guys like Dylan Gott, my go-tos right now, Rick Glassman, Kill Tony, love Roast Battle. But a lot of it's just kind of taking stuff from what are my unique interests that I can convey in wrestling. I'll just listen. I'll hear someone roast, and I'll be like, I'm gonna steal that. Harlan Williams. I've tried a couple Harlan Williams lines while doing some promo work. It maybe doesn't work, but I think a lot of it is down to it may not work, but as long as I enjoy it, then I'm having a good time. As well, Filthy Frank, iDubbbz, anything for views, Max Mofo, those guys were kind of my not inspiration, because I don't think I've done anything to their similar ilk. But that was kind of the internet culture around the time that I was kind of no, it's not even not even developing. I don't know if you heard that. The cats decided to just join the room right now, and it's hilarious. Anyway, I get easily distracted. But yeah, that internet culture, it's really, really what interests me. I don't know whether you, here's the thing, I don't know whether kind of any of the names that I've mentioned there, if they ring true to you, or whether I'm just kind of naming things, and I could be speaking Mandarin for all you know, and you're just yeah, sick.
I do know some of the roast battle videos and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of them. So now you've obviously pointed that out. I do see where you get that inspiration from, which is kind of unique.
Yeah. Honestly, Kill Tony is my jam. Love Kill Tony. I used to it was me, Monstrum, and Rob Stowe would listen to Kill Tony in the car on the way home from training, because it'd been an hour and a half journey. So that's just perfect podcast timing. I remember being stuck in traffic on the way to the TNA gut check, and very stressful because you're running behind and that the traffic is not moving. However, the one thing that gives us a little bit of levity is the fact that Adam Ray is dressed up as Dr. Phil on Kill Tony, and he's just roasting people. So, and it's coming to Netflix as well. So I think it's this month, April. I think it's April 21st. So yeah, Kill Tony. It's very political. You might not like it, but it tickles me. Rick Glassman as well. Take your shoes off.
Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for stuff like that. So, for people obviously not familiar with the Ian Skinner character, why should they go check you out? This is a way to promote yourself a little bit.
I think, again, if you're listening to this and you're kind of like the sound of what I'm putting out there in regards to character inspiration and stuff, then yeah, at this point, you're either on board or you're not on board. It's just the combination between having a bit of fun, a little wink and a nudge for people, and then wrestling on top of that. As something for me, I feel that I liked wrestling before. It was my guys are Katsuyori Shibata and Ishii, so it's not as if I feel my unique appeal is the character and the presentation and all that jazz. So it's very much kind of it's what you see it first, and you're either on board or you're not on board. And hopefully, if you're not on board, then you see me wrestle and you go, oh, okay, I kind of get it. But I mean, I don't rate myself that much.
I do recommend going checking out his wrestling in Newcastle match because they're absolute bangers. I'm just going to go back to what we said earlier.
Yeah, the full settled score is available on YouTube now for free. So
absolutely, and stuff like that. So weird thing, obviously, you do you get a chance to watch wrestling from like a fan's point of view?
It's not anymore, but I feel like that's the answer you usually get, in which like I feel that a lot of the time, like I feel like there'll be moments that really kind of like reset you back to being a fan. But I can't really. Yeah, I think it's annoying. It's annoying that like the more involved you become, the more desensitized you are, and the more you just like think about things. It's kind of like. I think I'm the same with movies now as well, in which like I'll watch a movie and I'll come outside the movie, and rather than just being like, "Wow, that was good," I'll be like, "Well, okay, so like let's think about the narrative flow of the conversation, like little plot points." Like, what was the last movie that you saw at cinema?
The last Saw movie.
Yeah. The latest Saw movie, Saw 10.
Yeah. I rarely go to the cinema because I'm always doing podcasting or like going to wrestling shows.
Ah, man. Dude, you're really missing out. Like, Alien Romulus has come out in like the last. Now, that movie's sick. As well, you don't want to watch it on like these streaming services because like now even Prime has adverts in the middle of the film. I was trying to show Billy Strachan from SWN podcast. I was like trying to show him The Batman because he hadn't seen The Batman, you know, the one that came out in 2022. Hadn't seen it even before his kid was born. So we did a whole thing of him watching it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's just like ads in the middle really broke up the flow." And I'm like, "How? I couldn't. I don't know how he did it. In all honesty, massive films, bloody love films. Like, get me chatting about a film. Oh, I'll rip your ear off talking about it. Last thing I saw was Novocaine, which is Jack Quaid from The Boys, and also from Companion, which came out this year. He's having the Jack Quaid renaissance. Really, there's not even a renaissance because it's not like he's coming back to form, but it's a real rise. It's about like a superhero type guy who he can't feel pain, but he's just a normal guy. And like his love has been kidnapped, and he just goes after her, and he can't feel pain. As in, like he has a neurological disease that means he can't feel pain, so he doesn't even eat food because he might just bite his tongue off accidentally because he can't feel it. Anyway, ramble.
That's fine. What's the go-to genre then in movies?
I like horror and action. Like the combo there. There's not a lot of good horror movies out there. I feel like the last good horror movie that, like the Monkey, especially on Monday. Shout out Monkey Mondays, but like the Monkey, great film, and it was better on the second watch, I'd say, because if you know Osgood Perkins, or at least like you know a bit more about Osgood Perkins, you understand there's a little bit of kind of like micropsychology in regards to his films, because he is the son, or one of the sons, of Anthony Perkins who played Norman Bates in the original Psycho, who, things like in the late 90s, died of AIDS, and then his mum died in 9/11. So when there's a movie out directed by Osgood Perkins, and it's all about kind of like the chaos and randomness of death and the way you deal with that, whether you're the kind of person to go, well, death is random, let me avoid it, or whether you're the kind of person to go, there's a design to death and something's going to happen and I'm going to try control it. It's an interesting take, and it's like, it was a great mix of comedy on top of it as well, but like very dark humor, but it's very unique. Like, and it was worth the second watch there. But yeah, love horror movies. Like the Saw 10 was probably like a great return to form. Spiral. Did you ever watch Spiral? From the book of Jigsaw?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think of Spiral by comparison? No, obviously there was. I think there was Jigsaw before that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was weird. Do you know what I mean? I feel
here's the real question: are you a massive Saw fan?
I like the franchise. Yes.
Right. Well, give me your tops and your bottoms. Like, where are we looking?
As in the movies or the actual traps themselves?
Of the movies. I mean, the traps, we could go a little bit longer, but I don't think I've got the time. But the movies themselves.
So I
just
really
like
enjoyed
just like the top 3, top 4, and then like bottom 2. You know.
So I really enjoyed obviously Saw 5. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the whole thing with that was really good.
Respect. Yeah.
The worst one, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's Saw 1, but I think that's just because it's all in just like in one actual room. But when you look into more so, I like 2 and 3 as well. I feel like they could go either way. What about yourself?
Definitely, I think 5's underrated. I also like the twist in 5 as well. I kind of liked Jigsaw. Kind of liked it. I feel like the external story wasn't as interesting, and then the last, like the lasers, a bit like it's a bit wank. But obviously, like Saw 7's just terrible, horrid movie. Was it 7 or 8? The one with the guy from Boondock Saints, where he gets his pecs torn out. He has to like grab himself on the hooks, and then his wife gets put in the brazen bull.
Yeah, I think that's
like the insurance scam, and then it's the whole thing with Hoffman at the end, and then it's just wank.
There you go. So
I'm more of a Final Destination guy myself.
There you go. We haven't got time to obviously talk about wrestling because I know you're a busy guy and stuff like that. So we'll go back to obviously to wrestling and stuff like that. So before you obviously go out to perform and stuff, how do you get yourself like in the zone, as they call it?
So I like to get myself proper exhausted, gas myself out, because it just get like the adrenaline spike when you first kind of like get winded. It sucks. So it's better to get that done and out the way first, and then just like vibe, kind of like I think like my song really helps kind of like loosen up and relax when I'm going out, because it's just like a decent song. A little bit of Sour Patch Kids, some push-ups, some sit-ups, just kind of like getting in the zone. Beyond that, it's just kind of like having a good time and enjoying the vibe, working out what the fans are really kind of like, what they're enjoying, and like how what you've put together works by comparison, and just doing a little nitpicking.
What about us? Turn that question 180. How do you wind down after a match?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I find it very hard to wind down. I feel that I feel like I need to like listen to a podcast on the drive home, or I just keep riding the adrenaline and just like get on some music, get on some Sabrina Carpenter, the story so far, just a little bit, just like to keep the vibes going. And then there's kind of like it's all the like decompressing stuff. It is kind of like it's really boring. Like there's no real way to like calm down from a show other than like if you've got a good group of people around you, then you can have a bit of a laugh and like enjoy yourself, have a little hot dog, little drink, maybe a post-show Mackey's, right? You know, the little things like that. Treat yourself in a way, but in all honesty, it's like once you get back home, you feed the cats. You just want to have a lie down. You want to scroll through Twitter.
Yeah, or Instagram, because I know you're very active on Instagram.
Oh yeah, shout out Monkey Mondays. That is my pet peeve.
So this next question I ask a lot of people, and I'm always curious to get the answer, what people's going to say. Being in wrestling, like say, as long as you have, what's the biggest thing you've learned? Could be in the ring, could be outside the ring. Interesting.
Because I mean, again, I feel like there's levels to it, because whether it is inside or outside, and I feel that I think learning the structures. I think you'll still always be surprised by people who break form, and it's usually breaking form is what is interesting, and what like because I feel that the form of wrestling has conventions and it has cliches. And people will still enjoy the cliches, but it's when you break out the cliches, that's when you can even get people who know wrestling to go, oh wow. But I feel like that's the main thing, because it's almost like once you learn wrestling, you have to then deconstruct and unlearn wrestling to get good at wrestling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when I'm watching wrestling as well, when you're always learning stuff, sometimes you could overthink things, especially from like a fan's point of view. Do you know, sometimes like overthinking it. So, is that the same with a wrestler? Do you overthink some things?
Oh yeah, I feel like everyone overthinks things. Like, I feel that sometimes it's the Occam's razor. You know Occam's razor?
No,
In which is like
I'm going to be honest with you on this one.
sometimes the simplest answer is the most relevant answer. Like, if you do a really simple match, but you break form in one way, shape, or like if you look at a conventional wrestling, just in any portion, conventional wrestling, and then you just like change one thing, people will notice, and it's all about maximizing that, really. Again, like I said, once you've understood wrestling, you then need to like unlearn wrestling to maximize your wrestling, because if everyone's doing the cliches and the tropes, but you do something different, people will go, they will notice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when we posted this on Instagram that you're coming on the show, one fan put a question in, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. It says, "Is your ego bigger than Shreddy's?" I'm presuming he's on about the character base, by the way.
I'm not too sure. He's been to Japan, you know. I don't think, like, again, like, if he's talking about the character, then the character's like ego. But I guess like the character also has like there's a deeper understanding of the character, in which it's like strip back kind of like all the flash and flare. Like, what do you have with the character? I think like there's more interesting things to like look at from Ian Skinner, if you, rather than ask questions on like, is your ego bigger than X or Y? Just do a character examination of Ian Skinner and ask more questions, because I feel like there's more questions to ask about the character if you look at it. Like, if you look at everything in the canon of Ian Skinner, like back from like 2017 when I debuted, all the way to now, look at everything as if it's one series. It's like a comic book, because there's been reinventions, there's been like redesigns, rebrands. You know, it's kind of like when the New 52 came out with the DC comics. What questions are there to ask about Ian Skinner rather than just about his ego? That's my counter question.
Interesting. This is going to be cool when this goes out. So, a few more questions, mate, as we begin to wind down and stuff like that. What's the goal for you, obviously, for the rest of the year, short term, and obviously beyond that?
I honestly, I'd love to like say what the goals are, but at this point, I'm just trying to find enjoyment in things. I feel that sometimes I get caught up on the big picture, and even then, even on the short term. So I think it's all about just like finding enjoyment in little things. At the end of the day, it's still like it's a job, because it's not just like the 10 to 15 minutes you have in the ring. It's the traveling to shows. It's the being at the shows. It's the stories that you're building in the shows. It's the promo time you're doing. It's the time in the gym. It's the bumps you're taking. It's kind of like the constant learning. It's a job outside. It's like a full-time job outside of a full-time job. As soon as you clock out from your like day-to-day, you're then into another day-to-day on like continuous improvement.
Awesome. What about opponent-wise? Is there anybody you'd like to obviously be in the ring with?
So many. I think there's too many to list. I remember putting up like 22 for 2022, 22 names for 2022, and I feel that I've not really hit many of them. So I'd even just keep throwing back to then. If there's like a dream one, I'd say it's Speedball Mike Bailey, but that's because he's helped me in so many ways. It all literally started during the pandemic when he did like an online seminar, and yeah, he just helped me kind of like change my perspective on wrestling. And I'm ever so grateful for him. And kind of like being inspired by the people when I was like coaching at Joe's school, the people around me and their constant improvement that really like drove me. And there's so many people there that I'd love to wrestle. But again, there's like people from an international level. There's people from a national level. There's people from just a local area level. Too many names. I just want to wrestle as much as possible and have as much fun as I possibly can.
There you go. That's incredible to think. So I was to mention if there's anything you want to plug. So what we've done is we've put all the links in the description for you. So take it away.
I do have a question. For you. Would you rather have unlimited bacon but no games, or unlimited games but no games?
Ooh. I'm a massive gamer, so I've got to go for unlimited game because I'd absolutely love loads of games.
But there is no games with that option. I don't know if maybe I got my words mixed up. Let me run through it again just to make sure. So, would you rather have unlimited bacon but no games, or unlimited games but no games?
It's going to have to be the bacon one because you've got no games. Essentially, what you've just said in the second part.
Well, I mean, let me run through it. Just I thought I was being like Crystal Pepsi with this one, but because obviously there's no game, and you said you like games. There's no games with the bacon option. So like option one. Let's like a little tray. Got a little tray here. Open up that one. There you go.
Yep.
Would you rather have unlimited bacon?
Yep.
No games. Unlimited bacon, no games. Or option B, tray number 2. Put that tray away. Tray number 2 comes out and games. Unlimited games, but no games.
But how can you have unlimited games if there's no games? This is going to fry my head for the rest of the day.
No. So it's like there's unlimited bacon, but no games, and then games. I thought I was being crystal clear with it. Listen, let's just agree to disagree. You know.
Yeah, that's literally fried my brain. Literally, I don't even know what to say with that. Dear. But yeah, as we said, everything obviously from your Big Cartel's website, the upcoming things you've got over as well, all in the description of this video, so fans can go check it out. I need one final thing for you, my man, is you get to do the outro for this show, so you can say anything you want, and I will roll the outro. Take it away.
Smoke big, drink lean. Nah, I just no. Let me actually cook something up good. Jamie, can we get a crap? So I might have got producer. Do we have a clip? Do we have it? Okay. Jarvis, delete this outro.